SpectreVision Radio.
Welcome to the Caribbean Mystics Podcast, where the veil between the worlds is thin. I'm your host, Gabrielle. I explore the true supernatural stories born from our island's unique blend of mysticism, superstition, and lore. These are real accounts from real people, and the encounter you're about to hear might just be from your very own backyard. They say if you don't believe in Jumbies, they can't hurt you. But if you do believe, they could kill you. And back in the old days in the Virgin Islands, plenty of folks believed. Miss Mavis was a cook. She was a wide-hipped and prosperous woman. She had a nice clapboard house painted pink, white shutters, and a red tin roof. And she had a garden full of magnolia flowers. She had a mango tree out in the front yard that gave good shade, and she had a husband named Frankie Stonewall. Frankie was a gangly middle-aged man who drove a taxi when he wasn't leaning against it chewing tobacco. He was the kind of man who liked to live the good life. And for Frankie, the good life included a slim, cat-eyed seamstress by the name of Patsy Green. For a long time, Miss Mavis looked the other way. She cooked his meals, she took his money, and she pretended not to know what everyone else already did. But pretending only works until the truth comes knocking. And one night, when Miss Mavis was at choir practice, the truth sure did come knocking. A bad-minded woman, what some call a Millie Queen, always stirring up trouble, stood up right there in the church and announced to everybody that Frankie and Patsy were sitting on Miss Mavis's own porch, drinking beer and carrying on like nobody's business. Miss Mavis didn't say a word. She just pitched her sheet music aside and stormed out of the church. She found them on her porch, just as that woman had said. Frankie and Patsy kissing and hugging like they owned the place. And something inside of Miss Mavis snapped. She snatched up the straw broom and went after Patsy first. She sent her running down the street screaming, waking the neighbors as she went. Then she turned the broom on Frankie's back and shoulders until he ran off too. And you'd think that this would be the end of it, but it wasn't. After that night, something changed inside of Miss Mavis. She began to pine day by day. She grew thinner. Her face turned sour. She took to wandering the streets, slingering as some would call it, wringing her hands and weeping, telling anyone who would listen about how she had been deceived. She went to the preacher man, and he stood with his legs apart and his arms crossed over his chest and asked if Frankie still came home for supper. She said yes. He asked if Frankie still gave her money. She said yes. So he told her to stop whining, and that men would ultimately be men. She went to her mother, old Miss Tanny, who sat in her creaky rocker dabbing kerosene and Vaseline on her tabby cats to kill the fleas. Her mother told her to shut her mouth. She said that she wasn't the first woman with a good-for-nothing husband, and said that her own father, rest his soul, was the devil himself. No sympathy, no help, just the same old words. Be glad that he still comes home. But Miss Mavis was not glad. She was in great distress. She went to the one man who might listen, a wizened old man who kept a candle shop near the waterfront, a obeah man. Now nobody don't know what passed between them, but not long after that visit, Miss Mavis vanished completely. Some said she had killed herself. Some said her body had washed ashore on Brewer's Bay. Her cousin Henry, simple-minded as he was, insisted she wasn't dead, that she had gone away by boat, but no one believed him. A week passed, 2 weeks. People moved on to the next piece of gossip. Frankie and Patsy moved right into Miss Mavis's house with the magnolia flowers and the mango tree, and nobody said anything about it. About a month passed, and then one morning, a Tortola boat came in. It was heavy with produce, low in the water, pulling alongside the biggest, busiest wharf. The crewmen heaved the lines to the dock, and up from the dark belly of the boat climbed a big woman shrouded in black. The shopping women gasped. Children skirted behind their mothers' skirts. The men on the boat stopped working and stood with their hands on their hips. It was Miss Mavis, larger and heartier than ever. Under one arm, she carried a small black bag. On her hip, she displayed a bright yellow demijohn. The captain of the sloop muttered to his mate that there was a trouble brewing, that the woman had evil in her eye. A woman in the crowd cried out to God. All buying, all selling, all chattering stopped completely. Miss Mavis looked neither left or right. She pushed past the clusters of women and children, her lavish hips swinging, and walked rapidly up the narrow side road called Radetsgata to Main Street, past stores and homes to the old market square. Then she turned right into the twisting streets of Savan. And behind her came a growing band of women and children, overcome with curiosity. Some called out to her, "What's in the black bag? What's in that demijohn?" Mavis held her head high and kept walking until she reached her house, the pink cottage with the white shutters and the red tin roof. She stood on the porch in the very spot where she'd beaten Frankie with her broom, and turned to face the crowd. She glowered at them. Then she raised her bright yellow demijohn high in the air. They all wanted to know what was in it, so she told them. She told them that they'd better run and hide. She told them that there was a Jumbie in that bottle. The crowd gasped and stepped back. And Miss Mavis went on. She said that when they heard a cock crow, that meant she'd pulled the cork off. That meant the Jumbie had come out. And that meant big trouble for somebody, maybe for all of them. Her generous frame quivered like guava jelly as she shook the demijohn in their direction. Then she turned, strode into her house, and slammed the door shut. Seconds later, Patsy's hands and clothes, her pots and pans, came flying out into the street. The women and children scattered like goose feathers in the wind, and gossip flew just as fast. Everyone knew now. They knew they'd better hide when they heard a cock crow, and cocks crowed often, day and night. Women hanging their sheets dropped their clothespins and ran. Women shopping in the market snapped down the lids of their baskets and hurried home. Those already indoors shut their windows. Those at work made the sign of the cross. Island life was completely turned upside down. That night, Frankie came home like a dog with his tail between its legs. Miss Mavis stepped right over him. She went about her business, ignoring him completely, while he slept on a mat on the porch. It was dry season, and Frankie slept outside for 3 months. 3 months while that Jumbie worked its power. At first, Patsy marched up and down the streets acting like nothing had happened. But within a week, she looked peaked. Within a month, she'd lost her appetite. Her cousin reported to the woman on the wharf that Patsy was shriveling up like a prune. Her eyeballs sank in her head. Her eyes became mere slits above her hollowed cheeks. Her clothes hung loose on her bones. She grew thin as a garland. one of those tall, long-legged birds. Within weeks, she could barely move. Her family tried to carry her to the hospital, but the doctors, with all their fancy medicines, couldn't do a thing for her. 3 months to the day after Miss Mavis came back, Patsy was dead. They buried her the very next day. And on that very day, Miss Mavis went down to the water. The obeah man from the candle shop went with her. And Frankie was there too, at the oars of a small dinghy, rowing them out toward the mouth of the harbor. People watching from the shore swore they saw Miss Mavis wave her arms widely. They saw the obeah man chant his incantations. And they saw that bright yellow demijohn flung wide, spinning through the air before it sank into the deep blue sea. So what killed Patsy? Everybody said the Jumbie got her, that it poisoned her food or strangled her or chased her day and night until she wore herself out. But the truth is simpler than that. Fright killed her. Slim, cat-eyed Patsy believed. She believed in the Jumbie's power, believed it could steal her fate, and that belief sealed her mouth. She couldn't eat, she couldn't sleep, she pined away and died from sheer terror. And they say if you don't believe in Jumbies, they can't hurt you. But Patsy believed, and that was enough.
Welcome to the Caribbean Mystics podcast. Hey, Misties. As you guys are reading in the title, today is our season 5 finale. We've been at this since the first week of January. We have gotten like 12 episodes in. And I know I didn't pre-announce this and that you're probably like, oh my God, season 5 over already. But yeah, I have been working on Caribbean Mystics exclusively since February of last year. And when SpectreVision approached Paulina and I about joining their network and everything, one of the things that they strongly suggested was that we got into a longer posting schedule. So posting every single week for a longer period of time. And so prior, we would post like 10 episodes, 11 episodes a season, and that posting schedule was normally around October or September through like early November. But then when they approached us with this, we obviously obliged and was like, yeah, of course, that makes perfect sense. And so I have been working ever since February of last year to prepare for season 4, which started September and finished December. And then during that time, I was also trying to prepare for season 5 because, as you guys know, I'm doing that solo. And I started that from January to March. Your girl is tired, and I also need time to collect more stories, if I'm completely honest. And yeah, I'm taking a little break. I will be back first week of September for our spooky season. And so this isn't me saying I'm gone forever. Just that I just need a little bit of time. I need time to regroup. I have some cool projects I'm working on for the podcast. I just need a little bit of spaciousness to be able to do that, get more amazing stories, and then come back again, rejuvenated and ready to go for spooky season. So before I kind of get into this last season and stuff, I just wanted to say that the story you heard in the front end of this episode is actually a story that I got from a book that Virgin Islanders wrote. And this book, I will post it on the screen. So you guys can check it out. You can find it on Amazon. I highly suggest that you guys buy it because I always worry that we're going to like not have these books in print anymore and then we won't have access to them. But this book is true haunted stories from the Virgin Islands, written by Virgin Islanders. And as you can tell from the story, there's so much cultural context. When they talk about a demijohn and thing, they're talking about Jumbies. I just read the story and I was like, oh man, I gotta record this and I gotta share it on the podcast. But this book is filled with stories. So I highly suggest that you support them. They're local authors. And I really appreciate this avenue toward cultural preservation and using paranormal stories and stuff, because that's like obviously my thing, LOL. And so give them a check out. But also, moving right along, season 5, we showcased 12 episodes, including this one. And we had stories St. Croix, St. Thomas, Trinidad, St. John, even. And I feel like this season was really interesting to produce because obviously I'm producing it by myself. But I found that I was able to actually get into a really good groove where I would create the episodes and pre-post them. So all of my episodes for January was done by December, and all of my episodes for February was done by January. And so I'm actually filming this in February. It's like the day before Valentine's Day when I'm actually filming this, but you guys won't hear it until the last week of March. I found that posting schedule actually worked really well for me, and it's allowed me to be a lot more, I feel like, present with my audience. So I've been having a lot of people email me recently with all kind words and stuff. And so it's been really nice to be able to take the time to respond to everybody and give everybody the time that I think that they deserve, because it's always such a special privilege to be able to connect with my community, especially since so many of you are from all over the world. I really look forward to that time when I could connect with you. And I just found that I was able to balance that this season because I had this very like organized posting schedule. Something else that I really enjoyed this season was posting on TikTok. I took a lot of shorts from our episodes and continued posting on TikTok. We had done that late last season, but it wasn't something that I think we were keeping up with regularly. But I was locked the fuck in this season. I was posting regularly on social media multiple times, and including TikTok. At the moment of me recording this, I'm almost at 1,000 followers on TikTok, which is an amazing feat considering that I've only been posting for like the last 2 months, and not every day either. But I'm hoping that by March, when you guys hear this, we would have surpassed that 1,000 follower mark. And then I've been posting on YouTube regularly, and I'm really proud because my Patreoners get the episodes the Sunday before, and it's like clockwork. Sunday, 8 o'clock, they get their ad-free episode before the episode actually airs that Thursday. And so I'm happy that I've been able to upkeep that schedule as well. Yeah. Enjoyed this season. I will say that these discussions are a little bit hard doing them by myself. LOL. It feels like I'm just like talking to the wall, and I'm always just like, am I like a boring bitch? Like, are people enjoying these episodes where I'm like hair rattling on? But yeah, that's been probably the biggest change, is having to navigate these discussion episodes. But I will say that they've gotten so much easier, and I am letting go that desire to judge myself too harshly. And to be honest, doing the discussions myself allows me the opportunity to pre-post so like long in advance. And so say one, say two, I'm grateful that I could kind of work and do like a whole bunch of like batch recordings. So like today I've recorded maybe like 2 discussions back to back, right? And that's super helpful to be able to just navigate my own schedule in doing that. I'll also say that one of the things that I felt really acutely aware of is how grateful I am for Paulina and all of the work that she's done to build out the podcast with me. And a lot of the like finer details, like the branding and stuff, she and her creative eye and her brilliance helped to really like steward that. And so taking on the podcast independently was not like I had to start from scratch. I'm really grateful for the years of labor that she actually poured into the platform with me, because it made the transition to independence a lot easier for me to navigate. I missed her this season. I cannot tell a lie. I miss my friend, and I'm also super excited to see her posting all of her projects and all of the things that light her up, and it's an honor to see her do that. This season, let's see. We had some really interesting perspectives. We had Rael, who is a psychic medium, but she reads properties, and we got that perspective. We had the stories from Trinidad. We had Spiritual Siege, which you guys heard last week. That was pretty creepy. When I was editing that, I was like, I don't feel like editing this in a night because it's actually quite scary. I was really happy with the stories that we had, and then we were able to scatter in some mini stories. So sometimes we'll get these smaller stories where they're not these like sprawling tales, or there are these really interesting events that's happened, but they're not like a full contextualized story. And so it's nice to be able to just capture those anyways, because if the work is that we're trying to digitize and preserve, I feel like even the little stories matter, right? So even Gail's story where she's on the St. John ferry and there's this like bright flash of light that overtakes the boat and the passengers and it leaves them all in a daze or a trance. Like, I'm really happy that I got to share that story. Even though it was short, it was interesting and it was special and it kind of left you wondering. And then Teresa came back this season, and Bert came back this season, and they shared more stories. There is a story, let me tell you about Bert. There is a story that Bert has from Jamaica that is absolutely insane. And I've been trying to get this story. Angelica's probably gonna have to tell it, but it's insane. I'm going to get that for next season. Like, that's one of those that I'm like, oh yeah. So don't be surprised you hear Angelica's voice for season 6, episode 1, because it is my mission that that is a story that we get on this podcast. If you guys aren't following me, and by me, I mean the podcast, on TikTok, please follow us on TikTok so you can see all of the shorts that we have, and follow us on social media and go back and listen to older episodes. It has been an honor getting to produce this season. Right now, as you guys are listening to this, I am in New Orleans on a business thing that I'm doing. But while I'm there, we're going to be catching some interesting footage. So be sure to tune in to all the things that I have going on with that. I'm just super excited and I feel so lit up. My Saturn return ended yesterday. And it's been ongoing since 2023 because I'm a 1994 baby in May. And when I tell you, I am so grateful for everything that Saturn return taught me and brought me and everything. But boy, am I happy that thing is over. It has been hard and there's been so much grief and loss. And it's also been deeply transformative in all the best ways. So there's that. Gratitude where I could sprinkle it. I hope that in the next 2 seasons, so like spring and summer, is wonderful for you guys. I will be back around right before fall starts for our traditional spooky season Caribbean Mystics run. And please know that in my absence, I am really grateful for all that you guys do. Consider joining our Patreon, where you get the episodes ahead of time, and your donation toward the podcast really helps with production costs and keeping the podcast going. As you can imagine, things are really expensive to pay for all of the editing software and the video software and all the things. So yeah, considering supporting us on Patreon. But anyway, enough rattling on because all I doing is talking. I hope you guys have a most incredible next 2 seasons. I'll be back in September. Bye, guys. Thank you for listening to the Caribbean Mystics podcast. If this story resonated with you, please share it with someone. And to make sure that you never miss a tale, follow or subscribe wherever you listen. We are always seeking true stories. If you or someone you know has had a supernatural encounter rooted in the Caribbean, I want to hear it. Send your story to caribbeanmysticspodcast@gmail.com. That's caribbeanmysticspodcast@gmail.com. For links and resources from today's episode, check the show notes. The Caribbean Mystics Podcast, Season 5, is written, produced, and hosted by me, Gabrielle Carrard. Until next time, stay curious and maybe leave a light on.